Well, good afternoon, Joe. How are you doing today?
Oh, fine, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And today we are talking with Joe F. Yee, who actually not only, and we'll cover this later, not only had a wonderful experience in the military, but also reached a milestone that I'm sure everyone in your family and you are very proud of. And that is being a centenarian, 100 years old.
Yes.
Last December. And this December you'll be 101. Amazing. You look amazing. You have traveled back and forth between the U.S. and China. You were actually born in China.
Yes.
Right? When, do you remember?
December the 3rd, 1921.
And when did you come to the U.S. the first time?
When I was 5 years old.
Do you remember anything about coming through Angel Island?
Yes.
What do you remember? Can you tell me?
I came with my mother, and we were detained for talk to the immigration officers, and we stayed at the Angels Island for approximately a month before we were able to come to the United States.
They probably didn't ask you too many questions because you were a child.
Yeah, they asked my mother,
your mother,
a lot of questions.
So I'm really curious because your parents and your grandparents have a long history of being in the United States, and they ended, your father, when he brought you and your mother over, he was in Arizona, in a small town called Winkelmann, Arizona. Is that correct?
Yes.
How did he get to Arizona?
Well, his brother-in-law, this is my aunt's husband, and him and my father opened a general store, the only store in Winkelmann. That's why my father ended up in Winkelmann. And not only that, my father's brother-in-law has a brother who lived in Phoenix and operated a wholesale, all kind of dry goods and everything. And the store probably got a lot of supply from him to open a store in Winkelmann.
What kind of recollections, what kind of memories do you have growing up as a child in Winkelmann, Arizona?
Well, there was only one elementary school, and I remember attending that school. And of course, we are the only Chinese in Winkelmann. Because Winkelmann is just a small town. It's a copper mining town. So that's where I spent 5 years with my family in Winkelmann.
So you were born in 1921.
Yes.
And in the early 30s, I think 1932, if I recall, you said that your father sent you back to China.
Yes.
Why?
Well, to my recollection, the Chinese people came over to the United States. They call the Gold Mountain.
Gold Mountain, yes.
Yeah, to make money, and their intention is like to go back to China when they retire. And this is what my grandfather did. He left his oldest son back in China. So when he retired, when he go back to China, there will be somebody to take care of him. So my
That's very
father probably like to do likewise. They sent me back to China because I'm the oldest son.
So tell me about, now you're going back to China, you're how old, like in your teens?
I was 10 years old.
You were 10 years old.
Yes.
And tell me about going back to China again, living. Did you speak any Chinese at that point?
No, that's the problem. I do not know any, not a single word of Chinese. And although I'm 10 years old, they put us in a grade below the kindergarten.
Below the kindergarten.
Right. So the kindergarten age is probably around 6. So I had to learn the Chinese gradually in order to get by, mingle with the other students.
And who did you live with?
Well, it's a boarding school.
Very strict.
Yeah, very strict. So you have to make your own bed. There's no maid service. You have to gather your own meal. Anyway, being a 10 years old, it's very hard. So I learned how to take care of myself, rely on myself all the time.
So if I recall, you stayed in China and attended school for about 5 or 6 years, or
For about
around-
5 years.
For about 5 years. So you came back through Angel Island again,
Yes.
and then ended up in Sacramento
Well,
or Arizona.
well, I came into San Francisco, and my father went to San Francisco and brought me to Sacramento because he and my family is all in Sacramento.
So now they have left Arizona and they've now moved
Yes.
back. Why did they end up in Sacramento?
Well, when my father's brother-in-law retired, so my father did not want to operate the store by himself. So he came to Sacramento because his older brother, which is my third uncle, was in Sacramento with a business, with a Fulton Market.
Oh, I'm sure it was. So you had to learn English again. Another survival skill
Yes.
that you had. Okay, so now you're in high school. You graduate from Sacramento High,
Yes.
and you graduate and go on to Sacramento City College.
I did not graduate from City College.
But you did not because
Yeah.
the war.
Right.
happened.
Exactly.
So you got drafted into the Army
Yes.
in 1942, I think.
Yeah, for December 1942.
Did you know any other, did you have any friends that also got drafted or volunteered to serve in the military at that time?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I got one friend. His name is William Fong.
William Vaughn.
Yeah. And he went in the service to Monterey same time that I did.
Okay. And did you end up getting sent to the same base or base for basic training?
No, at the base in Monterey, they lucky they give us the option of where we want to go. And the first thing I thought about it is that there's a base, a camp they call Camp Kohler in Sacramento. So Bill William and I selected Camp Kohler for our 3-month basic training.
Right. And you went there.
First, the reason I went to Camp Kohler is because it's close to Sacramento. I did not know it's the Signal Corps or whatever it is. But anyway, we spent 3 months in Camp Kohler, and then after that we were assigned by the higher up to go somewhere else. As I remember, my friend William Fong was sent to a line construction and maintenance section because you have to climb the pole and string the wire. And in my case, they sent me to the Newark, New Jersey, to a school, to a television and radio school. This is not my choice, it's the assignment.
That was your assignment.
Yeah.
And in those days, wherever you were assigned, you just went.
Exactly.
You followed your orders.
There's no choice.
There's no choice. So tell me, you're now, it's about maybe 1943, that time frame, that you went to New Jersey. So tell me about your training there and what was it like moving to Newark, New Jersey, so far away from California?
Well, the school is a civilian. You know,
Civilian school.
Civilian school, and then when we graduated, I think there only about maybe 9 weeks of schooling. We were sent to, not my choice, the higher up sent us to a Signal Corps base in Georgia. And from there to what I learned how to operate a system called the GCA, stands for Ground Control Approach. This is to guide a friendly airplane to land during a blackout.
Oh, okay. Okay. That sounds very complicated.
Well, actually, it's not complicated. I happen to be able to become a crew chief, which control about 6 technicians with me. And we go all over the airfield, including the Naval Air Station, to install this ground control approach system. So the friendly airplane can land during the blackout.
So you said your job was a crew chief. A crew chief of like 6 or 7 other
Yes.
soldiers. What was your responsibilities?
Well, I was responsible to make all my crew got the payment, figure out how to install the system in a fast way. So we can install as many systems as possible.
So this was all in the days before we had computers.
Uh-huh.
This is all in the days before we have computers and a lot of electronics. What was it complicated to install these systems?
Well, at that time there was no computer. At that time we were more attention to the frequency.
The frequency.
Yeah, because the ground control approach operates at a secret, very high frequency. But we do not have any computers. We just operate the equipment. Yeah, we do not design the system. The system is already designed, and the hardware is already manufactured. So all we do is to put the system together and make it functional.
So you traveled to different bases?
Yes.
And you mentioned Navy. You were in the Army, so you went to different military bases?
Yeah, we were attached to Navy one time, yeah.
Ah, all right.
Yeah.
All right. And do you remember, did you do that for 1 or 2 years? Do you remember how long you were with the Signal Corps?
I would say probably a year or two. I would say 1 year, between 1 year and 2 years, and then I felt this is a one product deal, you know, and I want to expand my knowledge. So I applied to go to the Air Force to learn about the airborne radar.
Airborne radar. So I didn't know that people could move from one military unit to another. But you did. You were drafted into the Army.
Yes.
And now you said you wanted to expand your skill set and your knowledge, so you applied to go into the Air Force. Was there a lot of bureaucratic paperwork involved in that?
Well, as I remember, I think I make the application and leave it to the higher up to either approve or disapprove. Luckily, they approved what I asked for.
That's good. And then you got to move.
Yes.
And got reassigned
Yes.
to another base. Before we get to that part, I remember reading something in your memoir that I found very interesting. It was while you were, or sometime around the time during basic training, or maybe when you were in New Jersey, that you became a U.S. citizen. You got your naturalization papers.
Yes.
Right around the time you were either in basic training or in New Jersey. Is that correct?
Well, according to the rules, an alien is eligible or qualified to apply for citizenship after they are in the service for 3 years. No, 3 months.
For 3 months. I wasn't aware of that.
Oh.
Because there were many, many Chinese Americans who volunteered to go into the military in the United States. Many of them, a great percentage of them, were not U.S. citizens, like you at the time.
Yeah.
But there was some law or rule that was passed while you were still in basic training or shortly after you got to New Jersey that allowed you to apply and get your papers to become a U.S. citizen.
Well, I think I got the transfer application through to the base commander or whatever. I forgot. But the application form is available.
Good. That was
Yeah,
good for
right.
you.
Yes.
Good for you. So now you are in the Air Force.
Yes.
We'll go back to, and where were you stationed?
I think I remember my first station was in Boca Raton, Florida.
Boca Raton, Florida.
Yes.
All the skills that you gained while you were in the military, your math skills, your communication skills, your knowledge of radio communications, it sounds like it all came to fruition and helped you in your eventual career at the City of Sacramento.
Yes, of course. That was what I was hired to do, and I was able to do the best I can for the city.
Well, it sounds like you did it very well. Your career in the city also happened at the same time that you were raising a family. You've been very fortunate in your 100 years to have found two great loves of your life.
Yes.
Can we talk about that?
Yes.
Can we talk about them? Your first wife, Fanny, was you knew from high school.
Yes.
And the two of you got married after you got discharged from the service?
No.
Or after you graduated from college?
Right.
And you raised a family. Unfortunately, you lost Fanny many years ago, but you were lucky enough to find love again. Tell me about how that happened.
Okay, well, my late wife, Fanny, as you want to call her, was a very nice lady. And she waited for me until I finished my service and graduated from college and able to make a little money before we got married. But unfortunately, she had cancer of the uterus. I was a bachelor for about 13 years because I was not looking to get married again. Then I came Connie. Connie is the mother of my son Glenn's wife.
Glenn's mother-in-law.
Yeah, Glenn's mother-in-law. She's a very good dancer, and she's a very good singer. And then I think she probably needed a partner to dance, and I like her very much because her personality is beautiful, and I had to take accelerated course to take dancing to be able to accompany her to all the dances that she enjoyed.
And you've been married for over 20 years
Yes,
to Connie.
yes,
And your life is filled with dancing,
yes,
singing,
yes,
giving family parties.
yes. But the past COVID pandemic kind of canceled a lot of our parties.
Yeah.
So
Well, I look around your home, your beautiful home, and there's lots of pictures that tell your life, that the life that you had with your first wife and your current wife. And it's wonderful to know that 100 years, you look like you're in your 70s, and you have a lot of energy. You've been blessed with a lot of wonderful children, wonderful grandchildren, and a great-grandchild, and a lot of love around you. I can feel it around you. It's not easy to hit the milestone of 100 years, but you mentioned this earlier, that you have a motto, and that was like giving with all your heart, with everything you have. Is that advice that you would give to your children and your grandchildren?
yes. So my advice is that whatever job that you do your best.
Good words of advice.
Yeah.
Thank you, number one, for your service during World War II.
Yes.
And lastly, thank you for your time, to sharing your story with us and giving words of advice to our younger generation. Thank you, Mr. Joe Yee.
You are so much welcome.
Okay, and good afternoon.
Yes.
This is for Congressional Gold Medal, right?
Yes.
Okay, and for your service during World War II.
Yes.